If you dig the twisted, admire the outlandish, and are enamored by the unusual, you're in the right place. True crime, the supernatural, the unexplained, now you're speaking our language. If you agree, join us as we dive into the darker side. You know, because it's more fun over here. Welcome to Total Conundrum.
Warning, some listeners may find the following content disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Ha 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 ha.
Well, hello, Conundrum crew. We've got a special treat for you in today's episode. I'm Jeremy, and with me, as always, is the incomparable Traci. What do we have in store for our fantastic listeners today, Traci?
Hey, everyone. Get ready to be blown away because today I'll be diving into the gripping survival story of Alison Botha. I can't wait to unravel this incredible tale of resilience, courage, and the triumph of the human spirit.
And that's not all, folks. We've got some extra firepower today. Joining us are two amazing guests, Amanda and Dayvid from One Nothing Podcast and Down the Rabbit Hole. They'll be adding their own flair to the conversation, sharing insight, and of course, indulging in some banter along the way.
Absolutely, Jeremy. It's going to be an episode packed with heart, inspiration, and a dash of WTF. You won't want to miss it. And for our listeners out there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and ring that notification bell. Stay in the loop so you never miss an episode.
And if you're tuning in on your favorite podcast platform, show us some love, follow, rate, and review. It's like giving our podcast a virtual high five. Let us know what you think. Stay connected with us on this wild ride.
But hey, before we dive into this episode, we have trailers from our partners in crime, Smoking Sounds Podcast and Dead Letter Podcast. A big shout out to those fabulous folks for joining forces with us. So now's your chance to check out their shows as well and show them the love and support you show us.
Now buckle up, Conundrum crew, because it's time for another unforgettable episode of Total Conundrum.
In a world where smooth, sultry tunes meet the rich, flavorful aroma of a premium cigar, welcome to Smoking Sounds. Join us on a journey through the world of cigars and music like you've never experienced before. If you're a cigar aficionado or a music lover, or better yet, both, this podcast is your sanctuary. Each episode will dive deep into the fine art of selecting, savoring, and pairing cigars with the perfect musical accompaniment. Whether you're enjoying a relaxing evening on your porch or kicking back with friends, we've got the perfect soundtrack to elevate your experience. Our hosts are true connoisseurs of both cigars and music. We'll guide you through the intricate world of flavor profiles, cigar etiquette, and the harmonious synergy between the notes of your favorite smoke and the melodies of your favorite songs. From classical jazz melodies to rocking guitar riffs, and from the subtle, earthy notes of a fine cigar to the smooth, soothing jazz that complements it. Smoking Sounds is your passport to a world of sensory pleasure. So whether you're a seasoned aficionado or just dipping your toes into the world of cigars and music, join us for laughter, learning, and the sheer enjoyment of a perfectly paired experience. Smoking Sounds is where the fire of the perfect cigar meets the passion of the perfect tune. Tune in, light up, and let the good times roll. Smoking Sounds coming soon to your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe today and follow on social media at Smoking Sounds Pod to never miss a beat or a draw.
Hey, everybody. We have a special treat for you today. We have Amanda and Dayvid from One Nothing Podcast that are joining us for a crossover episode. How exciting!
Hey, everybody.
And I'm here too.
Oh, yes, of course you're here. He's not missing in action. He's here. I'm sorry, Jeremy. I should have shouted you out too.
It's all good. It's all good.
I was just so excited about Amanda and Dayvid. Well, Amanda and Dayvid, I know, Dayvid, you're partnered up with Amanda on the One Nothing, and you have your own thing that you do with Instagram and the socials and stuff. So why don't you guys tell us about One Nothing, and then Dayvid, tell us about your Down the Rabbit Hole.
Sure.
Yeah, so One Nothing podcast is a podcast where every episode we focus on a different fatality. We delve into a little bit about their life and what they were like, and then how they died. And ultimately, if we can learn anything from that to protect ourselves. And sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. But we're also a place where we accept your feelings. We're not ever going to tell you that you can't laugh at something just because it involves death. There's just going to be parts of death that are funny. So we are on all podcast platforms, and we just really enjoy meeting new people and kind of hearing their stories. And every once in a while, we sit down with the survivor of like an animal attack or traumatic injury. It's really awesome to get those words of wisdom that only come from experience.
Amanda is actually amazing when it comes to research. It's like some of the best stories, and the way she tells them are fantastic, and she's really funny. And I feel very fortunate that she asked me to come on. I think my first episode was episode 9, Amanda, right?
Yep, sure was.
Yeah, that was a sad one. But, you know, even as sad as it gets, she finds a way to bring you back from that floor, from those stories. And I always find that to be extremely interesting. And I have a Instagram account, a Facebook, a Twitter, well, X now. What other things do we have? But it's called Down the Rabbit Hole. It has to do with everything paranormal. We talk about ghosts. We talk about cryptids, aliens, anything paranormal. It's great. I share only the videos that I want to share. And, you know, I think we've mentioned this before, that not everything is real, and you can't really prove everything to be real. So I try to share the spookiest things or the things I would want to watch. And that seems to have gone over really well. We have I think it's 67,000 followers now on Instagram and Facebook. And so it is really doing well.
And there's a reason he is the Duke of Darkness too, let me tell you.
Yes.
And she is the Duchess of Death.
Well, I have to agree, Amanda, the stories that you tell and the research that you do is ultimately amazing. I love listening to you guys. I love the banter between you two. You are like a match made in heaven for listeners. I mean, you meld together so well. And Dayvid,
thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome. You. Yeah, we really enjoy. Jeremy listens as well, and
yeah, I think my favorite ones are the animal attacks because they're kind of original. Good. You don't get that with a lot of other podcasts.
No, you don't.
So I thought that was kind
We're
of...
a mind of the same, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Well, the one episode that you had with the guy who was attacked by a bear, I couldn't believe how nonchalant he was. It was just like, well, and then I heard a crunch, and I
know.
He was so good at telling his story and about everything, how it progressed on. It was just, I was awestruck during that episode. So I agree. I like those ones too.
He is incredible. Like you say, he's nonchalant about it. He's talking about it. But if you listen to every step that took him from the attack, after the third attack, right?
Right.
And how he had to get down the mountain and how he had to rest and how did he do all that? I think I would have died in the first 2 minutes.
Right.
That guy is amazing.
Oh, definitely. And then was it Baby Shark was playing on his phone or something?
Yeah. That was amazing.
Yes. That story just was incredible. It was one of those that you definitely, I think I actually sat in my car because I was like so close to the end. I needed to finish it. So I waited in my car for it to finish before I got out.
Those are the best. That was me to your Backrooms episode.
Yeah. Yes, that was a great one. Jeremy wants to live in the Backrooms.
Yeah, I think if I had to listen to that song, though, I would have been praying for death. Yeah. Please take me now.
Baby shark doo 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 doo. No! Baby shark doo 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 doo.
Party fall.
Yeah.
And then
it's just so amazing.
Dayvid, with your videos, like we were talking about with the other episode that we just did for your guys' show, I like get so sucked into them, and then I'm like, wait, no, I gotta stop. Something's gonna jump out. You get that anxiety building up. But I have to tell you, I watched a video the other day. So you remember the Dobby type creature that was outside?
Yes.
Going in front of that car. And I was actually just saw a video the other day where the boy that lives there, they went and interviewed him with his mom, and they brought him out and had him try to recreate it, because now they're claiming that it wasn't him.
Well, check this out. You might be interested to find that on that video, I had a comment from early on Wednesday. She's another podcaster. She lives very close to them, those people, right? They're friends.
Oh, really?
And she had it on good authority because the mother told her it was her son.
Well,
so solve that mystery. Solved it.
Right.
Completely.
Yeah, I could totally see it, because when they had him put boxers on his head and then try to recreate the movements, but of course he wasn't doing it like he was that night.
Right.
But that is the first time I saw that video. I think I actually saw it on, what is that, caught on camera or something?
Paranormal caught on video.
Yeah, I think that's where I saw it for the first time, and I was just like, no. It reminded me of, what is that creature that's basically like just legs? I can't remember what it's called now.
Like a centipede?
No, it's kind of like a cryptid now.
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about. Northern Siren actually posted something about it the other day.
I can't remember what it's called now. But it basically, they say it looks like kind of like a tooth. It's like a half a body with just legs or something.
It's the tooth fairy.
Well, yeah, I hope not. But they say it's kind of shaped like a tooth, because the tooth has like the legs, like a molar, but with not having the forelegs, just the two.
It's two long legs and almost no torso at all, and a head, and it's just walking, right?
Yeah, something like that. There's a few different descriptions of it, but I can't for the life of me remember.
Nightcrawler, I think it's called a nightcrawler, maybe? A Fresno nightcrawler. Yes, I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, that thing creeps the hell out of me, too. We're going to have to do an episode on that. Definitely.
That does not look human. It does not look human. It's so bizarre.
I agree totally. Well, I have a curious question for you guys. So you guys now are doing 1-0 together. How did you meet? And how did you decide to collaborate on it?
Well, we do 1-0 also with Rachel. I don't know if you've heard any of those episodes.
Yes,
but Rachel's amazing.
Yes.
She's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
I love Rachel. I actually listened. So here's how it really happened. I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay. The way we met was I had this friend. Her name's Vicky, and she wanted me to listen to I think it was a live podcast. And it was called The Paranormal Project. Amanda was on it. And I was listening, and Amanda was telling a story of Stardust Ranch. I don't know if you guys know about Stardust Ranch, but I had a little knowledge on it. But she went so deep into the story. It was amazing. She went into the background of what happened. And so, after I listened to this, I was just like blown away by the research. So I went to look for her podcast. I listened to the first episode, and that was it. I was hooked.
Nice.
And I messaged her. Yeah, I was like a massive fan after those two things happened. And I messaged her and I said, listen, I just wanted to tell you, I think you are amazing. I think your podcast is amazing, blah, blah, blah. And we just hit off from there. We just were talking and, she would let me know what was going on. I was like an insider, I felt special.
Special details. Yeah. No, we clicked super, super well. And then we just grew really close, as friends. We'd talk every day and just tell each other stuff. So we're I've never met him in person, but he's my best friend. Like
Absolutely,
literally.
we're best friends.
That's awesome.
That is way cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know. So it's been, if anything, the podcast has blessed my life with at least bringing people like that into my life, because otherwise I never would have met him. So
That is, and
What a
you guys
sweetheart
have
she is.
such good chemistry with your banter. Dayvid, you guys had an issue with your Halloween episode, so we got to be blessed with hearing a Patreon episode on the regular feed, and Dayvid actually told a story, and you did a wonderful job with your story too. I'd never heard
man,
you
thank you so much.
Yeah,
So good.
it's
Thanks.
Yeah,
I
we're
was so
struggling.
scared.
I'm sure it's a big turnaround going from bantering to actually doing the research and telling the story, and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm telling my next story this Wednesday, and it's number 2. It's the second time I'll take the reins, and yeah, the first time I was, the whole day I was reading it, the story I wrote out, and I was very, very nervous. And when it came time to tell a story, I wasn't nervous. I don't know what the hell happened. Earlier in the day, I was reading it. I was fumbling over my words. But when I read it, I didn't have that problem, which was very weird.
You did really good. I was so proud.
Well, and
Yay.
you really jumped in too, because you guys had a guest episode or a guest star on that episode too. So it wasn't just the two of you. So you really got, you really were thrown in, and you did amazing.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I appreciate that so much.
And
You
then
did great. I was very happy.
yeah, I loved it. It was fun. So I'm going to ask you guys just a
Yeah.
couple questions. We're going to go turkey themed here, Thanksgiving themed. What
I like
is
it.
your favorite Thanksgiving food?
I think for me, so can it be a food with a topping, or can it just be
whatever
one thing?
whatever you want. What's your favorite thing at
Kind of
Thanksgiving?
understand the rules of the game. So I really I don't eat meat, so there's this thing by this company named Gardein, and it's like a holiday roll, and it's like, I don't know what they make it out of, probably tofu, but on the inside it's cranberries and wild rice and really, really good filling. And that with homemade cranberry sauce would probably be my favorite Thanksgiving food.
That sounds
That's
delicious.
like if I'm having the worst day of my life and I need to pick me up and I have one of those in the freezer, I make it. Like, it's just like the best thing ever.
It sounds really good.
It is really good.
Very
yeah.
unique,
They should pay me to vocalize about their product.
They should. That you need to sponsor One Nothing Podcast.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Gardein. You heard it first here.
That's right. How about you, Dayvid?
Well, I'm a cheeseburger type of guy. No, I'm just kidding.
So is Jeremy.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I love turkey with gravy and stuffing mixed together, mashed potato. I love it all. I'm a huge Thanksgiving guy. So anything and everything Thanksgiving, casseroles, bring it on.
Amen, brother. Amen.
That's right. Twice. I'll go twice. That's right. I said it.
We weren't supposed to be hosting this year, and now we are. And when I asked Jeremy if he was okay with us hosting, he's like, "Yep, we need 6 turkeys, 4 hams." And I'm like, "Whoa, who's eating all this?" He's like, "Me."
Rack of ribs.
Leftovers. I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
Well,
Jeremy, you're a brother of mine.
my favorite is gonna sound kind of weird. My grandma always makes the best coleslaw. Never had coleslaw like hers anywhere. And I love mixing the coleslaw, her coleslaw with the mashed potatoes and gravy. That's like my favorite. Yeah, it's weird combination, but it's actually really good.
It's a Minnesotan thing. We like to mix our foods.
We do. We do mix our foods.
What's interesting about the coleslaw? What's different?
Well, for one, we were just talking, my grandma unfortunately just passed, and we were just talking about this.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Thank you. But we were just talking about it after her funeral. Her funeral was yesterday, and we were all talking about her food because she made amazing food all the time. And the one thing that she does different is she doesn't use mayo, she uses Miracle Whip. Mm-hmm. And but then she also does the vinegar and the sugar and stuff like that. But hers is like never runny. It's just like the perfect creamy consistency. And it's like anytime like anybody comes to anything that they've had it, they've always like, make sure you bring home some coleslaw.
And cheese ball.
And cheese balls. She was infamous for her cheese balls. Every get together, we'd always have to have the cheese ball. And the past couple years, she hasn't been able to prepare things because she's had been dealing with dementia. And luckily, I got the recipe for the cheese ball, and that flame has been passed down to me. So now I'm the one that always has to bring the cheese ball.
You're the cheese ball lady.
And my kids, anytime my kids come over, they're always like, "Are you making a cheese ball?" So yeah, mine is the mashed potatoes and gravy with Grandma's coleslaw together. How about you, Jeremy?
Oh, didn't I answer that already?
Well, yeah, you kind of did, but
six turkeys.
I think it was 6 turkeys. Yes.
For him.
Yeah, anything meat. I mean, I could go with brisket. Oh, yeah, but I would say definitely turkey and mashed potatoes.
yeah.
That's
Jeremy,
my fave.
he loves his turkey and turkey commercial after Thanksgiving. Okay, so going off of, again, the Thanksgiving, do either of you have a favorite Thanksgiving memory? Or a tradition, something that you do traditionally with your family or anything like that?
I mean, I don't know if this counts, but it's like the one day of the year I can shove my face full of food and not guilt myself about it. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean,
that totally counts. Wear your stretchy
that's
pants.
My best tradition. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I look forward to it. Like, I just pajama pants it is. I'm gonna eat until I burst and not feel bad about it. So.
Yep. Then you pass out on the couch. Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. And wake up at 4 a.m. disoriented.
How about you, David?
I was trying to rack my brain. I think the one thing is, getting together with family. That's the one tradition that never fails. I will say this: I did have in my youth, the day before Thanksgiving, I had a severe argument with my father, and he threw me out.
Oh no!
So and I remember spending the night in someone's backyard of someone I knew that was not there. And it was cold.
Yeah.
That was an interesting Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Memories.
Wow. That's not good. Have you
not much to be thankful for there?
But you know what? You look back on those things and they're kind of nice memories to me now because if you don't go through those difficult moments in your life, you can't really get to where you're trying to get, right? So that's I don't look back at it as a negative thing. I look at it as like, this is something I had to go through.
A stepping stone.
And yeah, we made up, me and my dad, several, weeks or months later. And I ended up getting my own place and he helped me. So yeah, it worked out really well.
Well, that's good that there was a happy ending to it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you had to freeze and not probably have turkey dinner that day, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Just wasted a whole day of not caring about calories like that. That's so
absolutely, I know.
My heart breaks for you.
I think my favorite thing about Thanksgiving in general is it's one of the family holidays that you all get together and you're more focused on just family. It's not hunting the Easter eggs or when are we opening presents, and it's just more family. So, whether you're playing the games or just sitting around having drinks and BSing, and I think I like the, not having to rush through to get to the next thing. It's just, you just get to sit around and just enjoy each other.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thanks. How about you, Jeremy?
Never looked at it like that.
The food?
I try to avoid family. So if they don't have turkey, it's a no-go for me. I'm not coming. So you best have that turkey.
That's the other downfall of him meeting me. I love family, so he had to start going to
I'm
things.
Okay, I'm okay with yours. I just avoid mine.
But I love your family.
Well, that makes only you.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh.
Well, and then the next thing that we have is our Conundrum Challenge. And the
nice.
shout out actually goes to Amanda this week from
Whoa.
One
Yeah,
Nothing.
I was excited for this.
Sweet.
She got it really quick. That was awesome. I loved it. I wanted to do something Thanksgiving themed, and it was Jeremy and I looked at each other like, would we be able to figure that out? We're like, probably not.
No.
But it wasn't
It
as
had me going for a minute.
it wasn't as tough as some of the other ones. I mean, some of the other ones were really out there. Like I don't know if people have gotten them,
took
but
Elon Musk to answer that question.
so I wanted to do something more fun with the Thanksgiving, and Amanda was right on top of it. So the shout out this week goes to Amanda at One Nothing Podcast. Yay!
Good job,
Thank
Amanda.
you.
Yeah.
And for the record, that was super cute, and it did take me some like hard noggin power thinking before I got it. So it was tricky.
And if you didn't see the answer on Instagram, the answer was pumpkin pie, as in, the circumference of pi, P-I, not P-I-E. I don't have the actual question open right now, but it is out on all the socials. So if you don't remember what the question was, just go out to the socials and you'll see it. But unfortunately, I am going to bring us way down.
Boo!
The story.
Yay! Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you like these stories. I do not.
The story I have for us today is out of South Africa, and it is a survivor story. So we don't get all of, like, with most true crime and murder, we're only getting one side of it. And it's usually the murderer's side or what the coroner or the autopsy tells us and what happens to these people. But in this story, we're getting the information from the person it happened to. With that, you're going to get a lot of detail. And so I will give a trigger warning. This episode, it has... Oh, did you hear that?
There's the Big Bang.
There was something that they just shot off another one of those cannons outside. We live on a lake and it's the weekend, so they think they can just shoot off fireworks all year round. But anyway, so this story, I am going to offer a trigger warning. The story contains sexual violence, sexual assault, and extreme violence. Although this is a survival story told by this astonishing woman, the details of her attack are gruesome. Some may not be able to handle the information about this horrifying evening, so listener discretion is advised. And unfortunately, Jeremy and Dayvid, you cannot run away. I'm sorry. You can hide, you can,
Try
whatever.
to stop me. I dare you.
So we'll just go ahead and get into the story. I don't know if have you ever heard of Alison Botha? Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. And the other thing I'm going to state outright too, this does take, like I said, this is in South Africa, and their names are very difficult. And I have researched how to pronounce them, but whether I'm going to say them correctly I'll get as close as I can. But I did go out and listen and practice how to say it, but I don't have the accent or the dialect. So just if anybody's from South Africa's listening, I apologize in advance that my Minnesota accent cannot replicate yours. So on a perfect summer's day on December 18th, 1994, 27-year-old Alison spent a fun-filled day with her friends on the beach, followed by pizza and a game night at her place in the evening. Unfortunately, this perfect day of sand in her toes sun-kissed cheeks, and fun-filled games would turn into the most significant, horrendous evening of her young life. As some of you may have picked up on, this is a survivor story. This woman's unyielding will to live and desire to prevent her attackers from being able to do this to anyone else is nothing as I had ever heard before in my life. This story touched my soul. As disturbing as it is also very inspirational. I acquired the majority of my information on this story from Alison herself, not personally, but from the documentary on Prime Video. It's a must-watch. The documentary is beautiful, unlike anything that I have seen previously. Alison tells her story, and we hear from the people who helped save her that hellish night. If you're into listening to survival stories, and if you can handle the details of this documentary was done in the most beautiful way that I have ever seen. And she is with us through the whole thing, and along with the people that were there that helped her. It was just so heart-wrenching, but it was so beautiful in the same. So I do highly recommend going and giving it a watch. So enough rambling from me. Let's dive in with some background on Alison Botha. Alison Botha was born on September 22nd, 1967 in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. Her parents divorced when she was 10, and Botha spent most of her childhood living with her mother and brother. In her early years, Botha led a reasonably everyday life. She was a head girl at the Coolidge High School for Girls in Port Elizabeth. When Alison finished her education, she spent a few years traveling, and after that she returned home. Botha found a job as an insurance broker, which she really enjoyed. As I stated before, Alison had spent the day with her friends at the beach and followed by an evening of pizza and games, fun with her friends. And as soon as her friends left that evening, she gave her friend a ride home and simultaneously picked up her laundry from her friend's home. Her usual parking spot was unavailable when she returned home, so she had to park further down the street than usual. Seconds after parking, she felt a warm burst of air, followed by a knife against her throat. Then she hears a voice that states, "Move over or else I'll kill you." Her thoughts immediately racing, thoughts as in, I should have locked the doors. Should I jump? But she didn't. She did not want to believe the worst, and she tried to hope for the best. The man introduced himself to her as Clinton. He reassured her that he did not want to hurt her. However, he needed to use her car for an hour. Alison was gaining a little false sense of security, for he was making small talk with her, like asking her if she had a boyfriend and so on. Clinton drove to another part of Port Elizabeth, stating that he needed to pick up a friend. Tians Kruger got into the back of the car. Alison recalls looking at the rearview mirror, locking eye contact with Tians, and all she could see in his eyes was dead, cold evil. At this point, she realizes she won't be going home. The car was driving away from any civilization on the outskirts of Port Elizabeth, passing the last streetlight and driving into pure darkness. They continued to move to a secluded dark alcove and parked the car. The men asked her if she was going to fight. Alison thought that if she complied, her chance of survival would be more significant. She reassured them that she would not fight. So this point, we're going to go into a major trigger warning. So I'm going to be going into great detail about this case. But the one question I want to ask you guys.
Yep, I'll leave.
No, you can't leave. At the point of the car, what would you guys have done when he approached her at the car?
I am doing everything to fight, and I'm absolutely not, because the second that they have you in the car, I just feel like they have control at that point with a weapon.
Right.
So I'm doing whatever I can to get away by any means possible. And if I die doing so, so be it.
That was my
Right.
thought
I would force them to kill me. Simple.
Yeah.
They said he's going to kill you.
I don't think. Live, but I wouldn't.
I don't think he's going to kill you. He wants to take you. He's not going to kill you. So if you try to run, you get away. I don't think he's going to do it. But do not go to the next spot with them. Do not get in the car.
Right.
Get away.
Fight as hard as you can. And this, actually researching this case made me rethink certain things, because there's a lot of times that in between jobs, I'll like stop and have lunch somewhere, or I'll stop in a parking lot. And when you stop and you put your car in park nowadays, what happens?
Right.
Your doors unlock.
Mm-hmm.
When you put your car into drive, they lock. But when you put it into park...
Does that happen? I feel like mine don't unlock unless I like go to open it.
Oh, most vehicle, well, I guess our vehicle, if I put it in park, they unlock. Or maybe it's when I turn the key off, they unlock. I can't remember now, but they unlock by themselves. So I purposely, if I know I'm going to be like looking on my phone or doing anything like, that I'm not going to be paying attention to my surroundings, I automatically lock my doors again. And it's because of this story. And I never thought about it until I researched this story. So if you have a vehicle that unlocks when you're coming into a parking lot, or when you first get in, like if you're shopping at Walmart and you're throwing your stuff in your vehicle and then you get in, first thing you need to do, lock your damn doors. Protect yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right, let's get back to the story here. So Clinton then forced her to perform oral sex on him, followed by him performing oral sex on her. He proceeded to give her a hickey on her breast. He had the audacity of kissing her. And at that point, he then raped her. In the documentary, Alison recalls that while being raped, her body reacted by having an orgasm. Alison states, "My body responded, and although I know now that it's a protection mechanism, it was for me the ultimate betrayal." And I really wavered on putting this in the story because it's something that's really hard to hear. But the reason I
just feel like it's important to include, I don't even know the rest of the story yet, but I feel like it's so important to acknowledge that can happen physically when your mind isn't there. It's just a physical response. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I think it's important to know that.
Yes, and that is
it's a bodily reaction. Sure.
It is, and that is why I wanted to include this, because after looking into this a little bit more, I found out that the stats on people realizing that, or reporting this or realizing, is very low. So I wanted to bring awareness to this topic. So again, it's an uncomfortable topic, but I really wanted to, I'm sure there's people out there listening that don't realize. So I'm going to go into a little bit of what I researched on this. So having an orgasm during a sexual assault is something that no person should ever feel shame for. An article from Pandora's Project states the following: a sexual response or an orgasm during a sexual assault is often the best kept and most deeply shameful secret of many survivors. If you are such a survivor, you must know that a sexual response in a sexual assault is widespread, well documented, and nothing for you to be ashamed of. In the book Rape and Sexual Arousal, Aphrodite Matsakis writes about the sexual arousal or the orgasm in rape. Before you chastise yourself for having one, remember that your sexual organs do not have a brain. They cannot distinguish between a mauling rapist or a gentle touch of a lover. So people react to stimulation the way that we are physically designed to respond. If you climax or had another sexual response to the rape, this does not mean you enjoyed it. And lastly, from thepaceconnection.com, of those who report rape cases, only around 4 to 5% describe experiencing an orgasm, but the actual numbers are significantly higher. So I
would imagine.
Yeah, I thought it was so important to touch on that because there are so many people that probably are down on themselves because they felt like their body failed them. And it didn't. It's natural.
Right. So it's a good thing you added that to the story because it's part of the story.
Yes, definitely.
What is for people listening who may have been going through the same thing and who have internalized that shame, and it's important for them to know too that that's commonplace.
Definitely. Like I said, I wavered and I'm like, no, it's too important. It brings that uncomfortable factor, but it also brings it to light for people who don't realize that.
Absolutely.
So we'll get back on track. So Tiens was outside of the car and he yells out, "Franz, that's enough." At this point, Alison realized that he had given her a false name. His name was actually Franz Detroit. Franz exited the car as he asked Tiens if he wanted to have sex with the lovely lady. He replied, "No, I want to fuck the bitch."
Oh, God.
Tiens replied, "She's a lady. You have to speak properly to her." Are you fucking kidding me? You just raped her. And now you're saying that she's a lady and you have to speak properly to her? I mean,
sick. While volunteering her anatomy up to somebody else, like,
oh yeah,
sick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Tiens gets into the car and starts raping her, and before she knows it, his hands are around her neck, and she releases her bowels while he strangles her. That was the last thing that she recalled until she woke up on the ground outside of the car. They then stabbed her in the abdomen and pubic area over 37 times.
Jeez.
They walked away thinking she was dead. However, her leg uncontrollably twitched. Tiens was the first to cut her throat. Franz pushed him away, and Alison said in the documentary that the moon behind him ironically gave him a halo as he cut her throat 17 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Tiens and Franz then drove off, throwing her clothes out of the car. As she lay on the ground, she recalls not feeling any pain, but hearing the horrible noise from her severed windpipe. Finally, Alison, overcome with sadness and despair, realizes that her injuries are beyond hope and that she's dying. Alison remembers having an out-of-body experience, seeing herself lying naked on the ground in the fetal position. It's quiet, and she does not hear the awful noise of her breathing. She has no pain, but she knew then that she wanted a chance to live better, and she did not want to die. Alison, now back in her body, first, she wrote their names in the sand. She spelt out Franz and Tiens. She wanted to ensure that they could not do this to someone else and hoped they would get caught and jailed. And then she wrote, "I love Mom," for her mother, so she knew she was thinking of her. I bawled at this part that she even thought about her mother at this.
Just the bravery it takes in what you're perceiving to be your dying moments to write out your killer's names.
Yes, yes, because she, just in case, she just didn't want anybody else to have this happen. So moments later, she felt something wet on her legs. She then realized her intestines were outside of her body.
Oh, God.
Her denim shirt was nearby, and she reached for it and was able to hold everything in as she tried to crawl over the ash and the cut glass on the ground. Crawling was too much, and it was making her weaker. So she finally told herself, "You have to do better." She managed to get to her feet, and when she did, everything went black. But she was alert and was not passing out. She brought her hand up to her neck, and her whole hand went into her slashed neck. They had severed the muscle on the side of her neck, and she realized that her head had flopped back and was between her shoulder blades.
Oh my God.
Right? She took her free hand and pulled her head up so she was able to see. So at this point, she does not recall too much. She stated it was as if someone had taken her feet and moved them for her. The next thing she knew, she was on the road and collapsed. However, she did position herself in the middle of the road, figuring that she would be seen better than if she was at the side of the road. Shortly after, she saw headlights in the distance. She realized her attackers could be in that car, but there was nothing that she could do. The car approached her, slowed down, and then sped away. She then heard another car approaching. 20-year-old veterinary student Tian Eller was in this car with some of his friends. They were vacationing in Port Elizabeth while on a break from school. Tian ran to the side and reassured her that she would be okay, and he assessed her injuries. He took his shirt off to cover her and to keep her warm. He was trying to keep her calm, and he also rearranged her and did what he could with her injuries to keep her alive. At that time, one of his friends had a cell phone, a very new technology, and he had called emergency services. The hospital was a 15-minute drive from where they were. However, it took the ambulance 40 minutes to arrive.
Oh, man.
Right?
That's terrible.
And the minutes probably seemed like hours in that instance as well. Tian did not leave her side. He kept talking to her and kept her alert and held her hand the entire time. The ambulance was not in any rush to get to the hospital. He said that they didn't think that she would live, so they took their time. He recalls even yelling at the driver to drive faster. However, he did not let go of Alison's hand the entire time until they arrived and they took her back for evaluation. When Dr. Dayvid Comyan evaluated her injuries, he discovered the attackers had cut her neck ear to ear. Franz and Tian's...
Oh my gosh, Joker.
Right. They had cut her trachea entirely, and she was breathing through a gaping hole just above her collarbone. They disemboweled her. Her intestines were lying on her stomach and covered in sand and clumps of charcoal. At this point, it became evident to him that she would never be able to have children due to the extent of her injuries. He called the general surgeon, Dr. Angeloff, who was on call, and told him that he recommended that they also call an ENT surgeon in for her neck injuries, and he could do the abdominal surgery afterwards. Dr. Angeloff stood a bit taller and exclaimed that he was trained as an ENT and a general surgeon in his country. So that was a big blessing right there, that he was trained and he could do both surgeries and not have to bring in another surgeon. Alison had to sign a consent form before going into surgery, which I think is absolutely asinine. I mean, when you have injuries to that extent, you should not have to physically sign a consent form. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
It should be just a no and you consent.
How did she sign it?
She did. Dr. Angeloff recalls how she signed it with a steady hand, and when asked, she wrote her mother's phone number down, and he was astounded by her strength.
Wow.
Yeah, this woman is incredible. Her will to live is like no other. I completely applaud her. Most people would have given up with all the different things and the parts of getting to that road. I don't know if I could have done it. So Dr. Angeloff...
That's just more strength than I think I could ever muster.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I have a strong will to live, but this woman, she had a lot of injuries, a lot. I mean, her head went between her shoulder blades.
That's so creepy.
Yes. So Dr. Angeloff cleaned her entire intestines, passing each loop through his fingers, cleaning everything off, and even taking the scrub brush to some areas. He wanted to make sure everything was extremely clean and thorough. She was very blessed because no stab wounds hit any of her arteries or significant organs by some miracle.
Wow. They stabbed her like 30-something times, didn't they?
Yeah. And that was just in her stomach or abdomen and pubic area. And then there was 17 at the neck.
Yeah.
So the morning after surgery, the police constables brought a folder of pictures to Alison's room. And as they flipped through the photos one by one, they came to an image of Franz. Alison pointed to him and wrote Franz on a piece of paper. They turned over a few more photographs, and then she identified Tien's. And then she wrote his name, Tien's, on a piece of paper. The police constables were satisfied at that point and left. Later that afternoon, they returned and stated that the chief prosecutors indicated that the case would be far stronger if Alison would be able to verbalize the name of the two suspects. Doctors were horrified at the notion of removing the tube that could possibly disrupt the suture line in her trachea and undo the work that they had just done the night before. Dr. Kamian went into Alison and explained to her, and she wrote on the piece of paper, "Take it out."
In a world where the ordinary meets the extraordinary, prepares a journey beyond the veil of reality to uncover secrets that defy explanation. Welcome to a Dead Letter podcast, where we delve into the mysterious and unexplained phenomena that have fascinated humans for centuries. In each episode, we will explore some of the most intriguing and spine-tingling aspects of the paranormal world. But beware, for the line between reality and the supernatural is thinner than you think. Will you dare to listen?
He removed the tube.
Holy shit.
Right? Her first words were, "That's wonderful." I'm assuming because she could actually be able to verbalize. She then said, "My attackers were Franz and Tien's." The next day, she was discharged from ICU to the general surgery unit. This woman is amazing. After she was discharged from the hospital, Alison still had to go back to see Dr. Angeloff daily to get treatment for her injuries, particularly her abdominal area. Dr. Angeloff had to scrape it until it bled, and this procedure would cause the regeneration of new cell growth. She did have to have plastic surgery at a later time. Her recovery was excruciating, and she still has ongoing medical issues to this day. Franz and Tien's raped 2 other women shortly before Alison. They threatened the women, stating that they would kill them if they went to the police. One of the victims was also 3 months pregnant at the time. They were released on bond the Monday before attacking Alison. So just the Monday before, they released these sons of bitches, and they were able to attack her. Franz was brought to the police station by the police. He was read his rights, and Officer Humpel told Franz that he was under arrest for the attempted murder of Alison Botha. Franz asked him why only attempted murder, and Humpel said because Alison is still alive. Humpel noticed that he had never seen such a hardened criminal be so surprised in his career. You could have knocked him over with a feather. But instead, Franz said to him, "Well, there's nothing I can hide from you because she'll tell you everything that happened." He then pulled a ring off of his finger and said, "Give this to Alison. It belongs to her." Humpel noticed the blood on it, and the lab tested it, and it was indeed Alison's blood. So they robbed her of jewelry as well as everything else they did.
And then he's wearing it around like a trophy.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's these two are, there's not a hot enough place in hell.
I really hope the story ends with them getting the death penalty. I'm sorry.
We'll get to it. Yeah, and I'm not a big advocate of the death penalty because there's so many innocent people that get murdered. But when it's something like this where fry their asses, inject them,
Right.
Put them in front of a shooting squad, I don't care. Get them out of this. They don't deserve to breathe air.
Oh, no.
So even though both Franz and Tian said that they would plead guilty, Humpel wanted to make sure he had an airtight case. So Humpel ensured all evidence, samples, and everything was processed, sent into the forensic labs for an analysis, and then he documented everything in a case docket, which he gave directly to the prosecutor. For months, Alison had to continue to go to the police station and have pubic hair removed, photographs of her injuries and recovery. Everything needed to be documented by the police. So this woman, again, had to feel violated because she had to continue to go to the police station to have this documentation done. But she did it because she knew she had to keep moving on, keep moving forward. She had to continue to go, for she knew it was going to help the case. So in South Africa, to identify a suspect in a lineup, get ready, you guys, this is just going to blow your minds. The victim would have to walk behind the suspects in a lineup and then place their hand on the shoulder of the suspect.
Wow.
What?
Yeah. They would then have to stand there long enough to take a picture to prove whom they had selected. Can you believe that?
You
That
can't even
seems
see their
unnecessary.
face. How
Yeah.
are you supposed to identify by the back of their head?
Well, they walk in front of them first
Oh, I
and
see.
then walk behind and then put their hand on their shoulder to identify
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
I
So,
don't like that. You're like re-traumatizing them by making them touch their attacker. I don't
Yes, exactly.
yes. So
Makes no sense.
my hero, Officer Humpel, did not want to put Alison through this. So he decided to try a new thing using a one-way glass. So they didn't have that technology or didn't use that process in South Africa at this time. So Alison was the first person to use this process, which is now the norm in South Africa. Thank God. Because traumatizing victims like that, again, is uncalled for.
But I bet she would have done it.
Oh, I'm sure
She
she
would have
would
done
have.
it without a second
Oh,
thought.
for sure.
Oh, definitely. So Humpel had to escort these pieces of shit to court every day. He said that he wouldn't handcuff them. He told them, "Make my day and run. I want you to run."
Yeah,
I
like that
love
cop.
this guy. He also said, "I would have, without even batting an eyelid, I would have shot them. He is truly my hero."
Good for him, dude.
So in a lot of cases, it's the cops that don't do what was supposed to be done or something. Somebody dropped the ball or whatever. But this guy made sure that everything, all the T's were crossed, the I's were dotted. He made sure everything was done. And he wanted them to run. I want them to run. I wish they would have ran. But
Yeah.
I think
Take
death
yourselves
is too good for these scumbags.
mhm.
Way too good. They need to suffer. And what better place to suffer than on Earth?
Yes. So Judge Chris
And I mean suffer.
suffer. I want them to suffer bad. Judge Chris Jansen was so appalled by Franz and Tien's that he ensured the following information would be entered into their permanent records. He wrote a statement in their permanent records so it would follow them everywhere, and everyone that sees the paper would see his message. The judge regarded them as a threat to society and never wanted the Ripper Rapers to be freed from prison. The judge said that he had never done this before and has not done it since that. South Africa no longer has the death penalty at this point because it was considered unconstitutional. But the judge said if it had been an option, he would have seriously considered it for them. The Ripper Rapists received life in prison. The court gave Franz the sentence of 3 life terms with no parole, and Tien's received 1 life term and 25 years with no parole in prison. After the court case, Alison struggled emotionally and physically. She moved back in with her mother. She still had wounds that needed to be cleaned and dressed, and she had to bathe with sponge baths. Her mother helped her with all of that. After her injuries healed, she took an actual bath, and it was the first time that she looked in the mirror at all of her wounds. After that, she slipped into a depression. She didn't care if she went to work. She didn't care if she called in sick. She didn't care if she ate. She didn't care if she bathed. She just kept blaming them for how she felt. Then one day, she had a moment of remembering when she chose to live and not to die. She decided to live that day, and she had to choose to live again. And by blaming Franz and Tians, she was giving them the power that she had to regain control. So finally, in the depths of her depression, she received an invitation from the Rotary Club inviting her to come and share her experiences with them. Giving speeches was her biggest fear in school, let alone standing up in front of people trying to live up to their expectations of being a heroine. Alison stated in the documentary, "But of course, me being me, flippin' hell, I pulled up my bootstraps and I went." This woman, I love her.
Oh my gosh, she's so great.
She is. But of course, after that, she felt better and continued to give public speeches about her experiences. She had appearances worldwide, and she loved every minute of it. Alison is now facing a new horror in her life. In 2015, she read in the newspaper that her attackers may be eligible for parole due to a new law.
Ew.
Alison admitted that she was petrified that her attackers, Franz and Tians, may be released despite the note the judge put in their file, so she started a petition to try to stop them from being paroled. I mean, what kind of laws do you have in South Africa that you would feel that it is okay for these men to be paroled?
This is so disgusting. This poor woman is just being so strong and doing her diligence to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone, and then she gets the news. Once she finally thinks everything's sorted, she gets the news that they're about to be released. That's so sick.
It is. It definitely is. And Alison also received an email from a mother in America asking Alison for help. Her daughter was Franz's fiance, and unfortunately her daughter has a relationship with him while he's in prison. And in this email, she asks Alison to help her get him released so they can have a relationship outside of prison. Can you believe the audacity of this woman?
That's insane. That's insane.
I have no words.
She needs to be committed or put in prison herself.
Or slapped.
Or something. Give her my resting bitch face.
Take a bear after that.
Yes, definitely. So while in prison, Franz had full access to Facebook and had an entire social life in warped sex rooms. Alison informed the authorities via email of him having this access and asked them to please not disclose that it was her that told them. However, she later discovered that her email was printed and given to him directly.
Wow.
Right?
Whoa.
Jeez, man.
She just can't catch a break anywhere. So Franz requested an interview with the filmmaker of the documentary when he discovered they were making it. In return, his demands were as follows. 1, a letter of forgiveness from Alison signed. 2, he wanted profit shares from Alison's book sales and motivational speaking backdated, as Franz believes that what he did to Alison is the only reason for her quote-unquote success story. The filmmakers denied his request. I'm like,
Thankfully.
who does this guy think he is? The only reason that
He's really warped.
Oh, very warped.
And that just
Obviously.
speaks about our prison system, because this guy is obviously not reformed in any way and has learned nothing from his time there.
No.
Absolutely.
So Alison's miracles did not stop. She married Teeny Botha in February 1997, and you guys, she miraculously had 2 boys naturally without issue.
Wow.
Wow.
Great.
Yes.
Congratulations to her. That's amazing.
And remember Tian, the man that held her hand and helped her while they were waiting for the paramedics, he decided to take a different path after the experience that day. He went to medical school and he became a doctor and also assisted in delivering her second child.
No
Wonderful.
way.
So this is where my story originally ended. But you guys, there's another twist.
Oh, no.
I wrote this story probably about 6 months ago, and I went out to see if there was any updates. After serving 28 years, both were granted parole in July of 2023 and placed under supervision. They were released from prison.
No!
And
You're kidding.
there is no comment from Alison on it. They released those assholes.
Oh, she's probably living under a rock right now.
So I hope she's safe somewhere. And
Oh my God.
I hope that they're under, supervision. What kind of supervision?
What? Yeah, I mean, that's disgusting that these guys even have a taste of freedom, supervision or not.
Exactly. They should not.
For Alison.
And I just hope that they get hit by a bus or something. Or lightning. Get struck by lightning every day of their life. That would be good.
Yeah.
A little link to Amanda's story. So
I'd be totally down with that.
yes.
Hair and eyebrows on fire.
Yes. Every time it grows back, it goes on fire again.
That's right.
So I saved this story for Amanda because I know she goes on the darker side, and I knew she'd be able to handle this. My apologies to Jeremy and Dayvid for going so deep and so dark. But it was, like I said, it was a true survival. She is an amazing woman, and she did good and is doing good with her life. She did have the blessing of having 2 children, which amazing when I heard that.
She's an inspiration.
She
for
is a true inspiration.
Those boys of hers are going to grow up to be the strongest and most stable men anyone's ever known.
That is very true. And I had to share this story because it's one that not a lot of people hear of. It's from a different country. And we, like I said, we don't get the other side a lot of times. And what she did to survive was miraculous.
Nothing short of a miracle.
Right, definitely. And not hitting any arteries, no major organs. The other thing that they covered in the documentary as well is in the car when she was being choked. Remember, she said she released her bowels? Because of that, she didn't have any infection. Because her bowel tract was empty. So when they disemboweled her, it was empty. So there was no contamination.
That's so
Tiny favors, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
who knows if she hadn't, if they would have thrown her out of the car or not.
Right. And if they hadn't thrown her clothes out of the car, she would have had nothing to wrap and hold herself together to get to the road. So there was little miracles that happened that night. So that helped aid in her survival. But these 2, I'm going to put out Google alerts, and I want to know that they had a horrible death. I'm sorry. I don't wish that normally, but these 2 do not deserve to breathe the air that she's breathing.
It's just so beyond sick, and they're gonna, there's no way they're reformed, so they're gonna eventually at some point be without supervision, and they're gonna be able to inflict pain on some other poor person, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, it's very.
The system is messed up.
It was a very roller coaster story, that's for sure. But
Well, that was a
I'm glad you
magnificent
told it.
story, yes. And you told it beautifully.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Traci. That was amazing.
I hadn't heard of that one before.
I was glad I was able to make it through without crying because it's that heart-wrenching.
It's a
Yeah,
tough.
it was a rough one, man. I was like holding it back here because that's some tough stuff right there.
It is
But
very
luckily, Amanda tells very strong, scary stories
She
all the
does.
time. And so I'm gaining an immunity to this stuff.
I remember
Well,
your
Closer
first.
and closer to emotionally dead.
And Jeremy's sitting over there just speechless because he hates when I do these deep, dark.
Every time.
Well, I'm going to bring it up a little bit and bringing up one of my favorite controversial topics that I have with Jeremy. And we're going to start it off is, do you guys think that a hot dog is a sandwich?
We're doing this again.
Uh-huh. We're going to do this again.
No.
Hot dog's a hot dog.
Hot
That's
dog's a hot
sandwich.
dog. Thank
Dog,
you.
right?
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How about you, Amanda? Is a hot
I'm
dog a
sorry.
sandwich or just a hot dog?
So I have the feeling now that you are pro sandwich, and I'm so sorry. But before this, I'd never heard of this question. But now I'm very passionate about there is no way it's a sandwich. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's unanimous.
No, I believe it is a hot dog as well. But where I want to
All
go
right.
with this is, let's say you are out of bread, but you're hankering for a
Mhm.
sandwich and you have hot dog buns. Will you make a sandwich
Yeah.
with those hot dog buns that you have in your cupboard?
Nope.
Oh yeah, because it becomes a hoagie.
Right?
Nope.
Ah.
If you have
If there's
it,
no other bread,
yeah, if there's no other
what else you
bread,
got to do, right?
how about if
Just eat
you
the meat by itself.
Starve.
if you have a
And
hamburger?
shamelessly done so.
If you have a hamburger and you have no buns, would you eat it cut up on a hot dog bun or put like 2 slices of just regular bread and eat your hamburger that way?
Nope.
I guess I would like cut it in half so that I could put each little half into the hot dog and be even hamburger in the bun.
Jeremy gets
That's
so mad at me because I will improvise if we don't have one or the other. Or like if I know we don't have any hot dogs in the fridge and we have leftover hot dog buns, I'll put them in the toaster and I'll make toast with it. And he looks at me like I'm crazy.
That's just the wrong proportion of bread to
Yeah.
a sandwich. It's not right.
It's not
That's
right.
why, a hot dog shape that fits the hot dog bun. But if you put meat in there, I mean, I get it. It could be a hoagie. Yeah, I could see that. But the bread to meat ratio is wrong. It's off.
It
It's
is
not right.
wrong and it's
Doesn't
off.
work. Yeah.
But I grew up not being wasteful. If you have extra,
Yeah.
extra buns or hot dog, hamburger, whatever, utilize them for other things. He just looks at me like one time we had extra hamburger buns, and I made them into garlic bread.
Oh, I do that all the time.
He looks at me funny when I do things like that.
Oh no, it's delicious. It all goes to the same place, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the gums.
Yeah, I'm a bit picky. What can I say?
So we always
Oh.
joke around about that. So I had to bring that in to see. I wanted other opinions if anybody else would do the things that I do. That he looks at me like I'm insane.
No, I'm 100%. I'm on your team of don't let it go to waste. So if I have a burger and I don't have a bun and I have a piece of lettuce, guess what? I now have a bun. I'm
Yeah.
taking advantage of any ingredients that I have.
That is right. Use what you have. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for coming on and doing this episode with us. And I know, like I said, it was dark and I apologize, but I figured it was the right podcast for for the crossover for this
You certainly
story.
hit the nail on the head.
But why don't you guys go ahead and shout yourselves out again? Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, so we're One Nothing Podcast. It's spelled WON. I know that trips people up sometimes. We are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can email us at onenothingpodcast@gmail.com. And we are on all podcast platforms. We also have a Patreon right now. We're doing bonus weekly episodes and a bunch of other fun stuff. And that is at One Nothing Podcast as well.
And David, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, X. I know I'm missing one of them, but it's Down the Rabbit Hole. And I do have subscriptions on Instagram, so feel free to join, guys. I have extra content that goes only to subscribers. We have merch available at www.deeperdown.store. Also on Etsy, you can find us on Etsy at Deeper Down. It's etsy.com/shop/deeperdown.
Definitely go check them out, guys. They are amazing.
They are awesome.
Well, again,
takes one to know one.
I love that. Well, again, thank you guys. This has been a real fun evening, and definitely go check out. We'll have our crossover. Yeah, we listened to Amanda's story earlier, and now they got to listen to ours. Excellent banter and some fun games that we played on with Amanda and Dayvid on their podcast. Some good giggles on that one. So definitely go check out our
nobody's getting
show.
vomited on.
No. So
I think I vomited on myself on that story, though.
yeah, definitely.
You owe me some new clothes.
Love you.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You
Thank
too.
you guys.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys. Have a great night.
Wow, what an amazing episode, huh, Traci? Those guys were awesome.
They certainly were. I unfortunately didn't mean to bring everybody down, but of course I had to share that incredible story.
Yeah, that was great. Horrifying.
Well, her story needs to be told as well.
It does. But you could have invited somebody else as your co-host.
Sorry, you're stuck with me through and through.
All right. Well, I guess.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And fortunately, they won't always be depressing. We'll try to bring up the mood some, and other times we're going to have to bring it down. But we do have to share those important stories as well. But until next time, keep on creeping on.
Goodbye.
We love you.
Love you. Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.